Scientists may have found Noah's Ark buried in Turkey, and radar scans show what researchers believe could be rooms inside. If this is the Ark, we're looking at one of the biggest archaeological discoveries ever made. If it isn't, then Christians are claiming the Bible has been proven by evidence that doesn't hold up. So I want to show you the evidence that convinced me. First, let's listen to what researchers say they found beneath the surface.
We had them independently analyzed, and the data came back showing these tunnels going down the Ark and on the inside area of the ship.
This animation, revealed here on Today for the first time, imagines those spaces as corridors with cabins.
Right angles and parallel lines, suggesting maybe these are the walls, the support beams for rooms.
Okay, that is the part that moves this beyond a hill that happens to look like a boat. But we need to be precise. Researchers detected underground anomalies that they interpret as tunnels, walls, and possible rooms. Nobody has physically seen these rooms yet. Ground penetrating radar is not a camera. It detects changes beneath the surface. It can show patterns, gaps, and differences in the material, but researchers still have to explain what caused them. Even that report says the animation imagines what those rooms might look like. The scans don't finish the case. They tell scientists where to look next. And the reason those scans matter is that we can already see above the ground. The Durupınar Formation is a massive boat-shaped structure in eastern Turkey, roughly 19 miles south of Mount Ararat. Genesis 8:4 says the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. And notice the wording, mountains of Ararat. The Bible does not say Noah landed directly on the highest point of the mountain we today call Ararat. Then there's the length. Researchers give the formation length at roughly 515 feet. Genesis 6:15 says the ark was 300 cubits long. If you calculate that using the Egyptian royal cubit, you also get close to 515 feet. Now, Genesis doesn't tell us which cubit Noah used, so that calculation isn't proof. But come on, bro, we have a massive boat-shaped formation with that length in the broader Ararat region and a radar pattern that suggests that there could be internal divisions. That deserves serious investigation. And I'll be honest with you, I want this to be real. I believe Genesis, whether this formation is the ark or not. My faith doesn't need Durupınar to be a buried ship. But if this is really what remains of the ark, that would be incredible. And because I want it to be true, I have to be even more careful with the evidence. Wanting something to confirm the Bible can make people, Christians, accept claims we would question immediately if somebody else made them. That's why the investigation happening right now matters. On May 21st, 2026, Turkish authorities approved an international research project at Durupınar. That approval doesn't mean Turkey declared we found Noah's Ark. It means researchers received authorization to study the formation properly. The project is led by Professor Sinker Atlia of Sivas Cumhuriyet University and includes around 20 scientists and students from 5 countries. The project says fieldwork began on June 29th and is scheduled to continue through September 11th. And they're mapping the site, running new radar scans, collecting soil samples, and using dry core drilling to examine what is actually beneath the surface. Laboratory analysis and academic papers are expected to come after this, and that's what this site needs: less hype and more physical evidence. The research team has also reported something unusual about the soil. According to their testing, samples from inside the formation contained roughly 3 times as much organic material as the samples from outside it. They also reported differences in soil chemistry and vegetation. Could that fit a larger organic structure decaying underneath the ground? Possibly, but we have to be honest, organic matter is not the same as wood. Plants, animals, and normal soil processes can all leave organic material behind. So I don't want to say too soon that the scientists found the ark's wooden deck. We can't say that for sure. What they found is another difference that deserves to be tested. Then there's a strange piece of local history that makes the region even more interesting. On the slope of Mount Ararat stood an Armenian village called Akori, also known as Arguri, before it was destroyed by an earthquake and landslide in 1840. 19th century travelers recorded a local explanation that the village's name meant something like "he planted the vine." Residents connected the place with Noah planting his vineyard after the flood. And in Genesis 9:20, it says, Noah began to be a man of the soil and he planted a vineyard. That tradition is really cool, but we have to be honest because Archaeology is not the Durupınar formation, and a traditional explanation of a village's name is not archaeological proof. What it does show, however, is that Noah's traditions were rooted in this region long before radar scans, Facebook posts, or YouTube videos. Now, we do need to deal with the strongest argument against my position. In 1996, geologist Lawrence Collins and Ark researcher David Fosselt published a paper called Bogus Noah's Ark from Turkey Exposed as Common Geologic Structure. So yes, by the time that paper was published, its authors had reached a very clear conclusion. The title is not pretending to be neutral, but did the investigation just begin with the premise that there was no way this could be the Ark? I don't think that's the whole truth. Fosselt had previously supported the site. He reportedly made 9 trips, and he brought Collins what some believed was an iron fitting from the Ark. Collins examined it microscopically and chemically and concluded that it was weathered volcanic material, not a manufactured piece of iron. The paper also argued that the supposed walls were natural concentration of minerals. Alleged wood samples were actually rock, and the entire boat shape could be explained by a geological structure called a doubly plunging cyclone. In normal language, folded rock layers can narrow at both ends and produce something resembling an outline of a boat. Those are serious objections. We can't dismiss all the work they did by saying skeptical scientists refused to look. They examined physical samples and offered a natural explanation, but the study wasn't a complete excavation of the formation either. It relied on selected samples, earlier trenches and cores, and some photographic interpretation. It couldn't evaluate radar scans collected years later or a new course being taken in 2026. So the 1996 study is real evidence against that claim, but it's not the final answer to every piece of evidence discovered since then. That leaves one obvious question. Can researchers actually go beneath the surface and recover something that geology alone can't explain? Listen to this.
Can you take your work underground and explore some of these tunnels to get a definitive answer?
That is the next goal, and we're really hoping that the Turkish universities will be able to do that. And so that's the plan, and that's what we've suggested. And we're even wanting to help with designing a robot that can go down into these tunnels and film and take samples.
Exactly. Get beneath the surface. Film what's there. Take samples. Publish the result. Let independent laboratories test them. If this is the Ark, researchers should eventually find something that ordinary geology can't explain. Worked wood, joinery, fasteners, tool marks, engineered walls or internal divisions, and those materials would need to be dated properly, documented in context, and independently confirmed. Not a radar line being called a wall, not organic soil being called Noah's deck, physical evidence. And if new cores reveal nothing except for ordinary rock layers continuing through formation, then the Ark case takes a serious hit. So do scientists actually find Noah's Ark in Turkey? Here's my answer. I think Durupınar formation is the Ark. I think it's the location, shape, length, underground patterns, soil differences, and the history surrounding the regions create a strong cumulative case that is more than coincidence. But scientists haven't confirmed it yet. Nobody's entered proven rooms. Nobody has recovered wood from the Ark. Nobody's dated a verified piece of the ship. My belief is a judgment based on the evidence we currently have. It's not an established scientific fact, and I could be wrong. But here's the thing. If I'm wrong about Durupınar, Genesis doesn't collapse. The Bible says the Ark rested somewhere in the mountains of Ararat. It doesn't identify this exact formation, and Christianity does not stand or fall on whether we can locate every object described in Genesis. Our faith stands on the resurrection of Jesus. Jesus himself spoke about Noah in Matthew 24. He said, "For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, giving in marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark. And they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man." And Jesus didn't use Noah to satisfy people's curiosity. He used Noah as a warning. People continued living as if God would never judge evil. Then judgment came. But God also provided a way of rescue. Finding the ark would be incredible evidence from the past. But here's the thing, it could never save you in the present. An ancient ship can support the Bible's history, but it can't reconcile you to God. The ark points to a God who judges evil, keeps his word, and provides a way out. Jesus is that way out. But Noah's Ark is not the only mystery connected to the flood. In this video, I examine who the Nephilim were and whether demons are really their dead spirits. Click it, and I'll see you over there.